I never saw this coming. Right after my mother passed away, that illegitimate son raised overseas, Yang Thanh, instantly rushed back into the country just to aggressively snatch away all my company shares. I am the only true son of the first wife, and the will clearly stated everything belongs to me. Yet I still completely failed to hold on to those company shares, all because of my fiancée, Than Mount, someone with serious influence in Chuchu City, actually made up her mind to help the illegitimate son fight against me. She carefully supports Yang Thanh, whose face is completely covered in bandages, and then impatiently lectures me. The massive amount of money I gave you is totally enough to buy several large companies. So why must you cling so desperately to those specific shares? Don't you have even a little bit of compassion? What is the point of fighting an injured man? I furiously yell right back. That is the absolute only keepsake my mother left behind for me. What does it have to do with him? To help Yang Thanh win the lawsuit, she literally let his guys completely shatter my leg, and then stood right by my bed, full of fake heartache and guilt, making empty promises. Turn Turch, I will make it up to you later, she says. But I know we definitely do not have a future anymore. She speaks again. I will give you another 10 million. Just hand the shares over to Yang Thanh. Yang Thanh got his face burned in that fire and needs bandages every single day. So just show some pity for an injured person. Than Mount's completely weightless words almost make me lose my mind. Even in my sleep, I know perfectly well that is what my mother left for me. Years ago, his completely shameless mother worked as my dad's secretary, fully took advantage of him when he was incredibly drunk, to climb into his bed, and then forcefully made my dad take care of her pregnancy. My mom was also pregnant with me back then, but whenever my dad tried going home to care for her, that woman would throw a massive tantrum, eventually causing my mom to develop severe postpartum depression. After having me, she gave up on life, and I should pity him. Then who pities my mother and me? I grit my teeth, glaring right at them. Than Mount just frowns, looking at me with pure annoyance. Turn Turch, a man needs to be a bit more generous. I will give you another 10 million. That amount is totally enough for you to open several similar companies. Are you satisfied now? Come on, sign the contract quickly. I stare at the woman standing in front of me in utter disbelief, having never felt this much regret in my entire life. Than Mount, I am your fiancé, yet you not only refuse to help me, you actually help an outsider make such an absolutely ridiculous demand. Do you even truly love me? All those times you said you loved me turned out to mean absolutely nothing. Than Mount knows perfectly well she is at fault, slightly lowering her head. But after a moment of silence, she still shamelessly says, I simply feel pity for a hurt person. Turn Turch, just sign your name, and I guarantee I will give you absolutely anything you want. The contract gets pushed in front of me again, but without hesitating, I tear it to shreds right there and throw it at Than Mount's face, completely resolute, not wanting to say another word. Tomorrow in court, whether you help Yang Thanh or not, we will just see each other there. I stand right up and pack my things, getting ready to leave. Reaching the door, Than Mount loudly shouts a warning. Turn Turch, you are the one who tore up our peace first. My footsteps freeze, and suddenly I hear the sound of an animal being yanked violently from behind, followed by a huge commotion. Now watch this nightmare unfold. Than Mount's bodyguards are tightly holding a thigh and a bow, the little twin kittens we raised together, treating them like our own kids. Before I can even react, one guard throws a thigh violently to the floor. He lets out a tragic cry, twitches twice, and then goes completely still. Than Mount, are you absolutely insane? I stare in absolute horror at a thigh lying there motionless, nearly crushing my own teeth. Meanwhile, a bow is held tightly by another guard, ready to be thrown down just the same if Than Mount gives the command. A bow gets choked until he can barely breathe, and I watch helplessly as the guard's hand tightens. You better make a decision quickly. I clench my fists incredibly tight, watching a bow whimpering for help. But those company shares are the absolute only thing my mother left me. How can I willingly hand them over to the illegitimate kid who completely ruined her life? If I did that, how could my mom ever find peace? A bow is barely moving anymore, and I just can't abandon my conscience like this. I grit my teeth. Fine, I will sign it. I shakily sign my name on the contract. Than Mount finally looks completely satisfied, handing the document right over to Yang Thanh behind her. He gives me this incredibly smug smile. We really are one big family. Thanks, big brother. I definitely won't forget to share some shares with my mom when the time comes. I completely ignore him, turning only to Than Mount. Hurry up and let a bow go right now. Than Mount nods, signaling the guard to release a bow. But why NH steps right up. As thanks to my brother, let me release it myself. He walks right up to a bow, secretly squeezing it hard when no one is looking, and then suddenly yells out, "Hey, this thing is trying to bite. Are you kidding me?" The panicked guard immediately throws a bow away, smashing him hard into the wall, coughing heavily before going completely still. I try to rush over, but two guards take Yang Than's order and hold me down tight. One guy even kicks me hard, forcing me down to my knees. The intense agony makes me cry out loud, raw pain rapidly spreading through my entire body. Then Mount totally pretends not to see a single thing, while Yang Nh fakes being hurt and screams loudly. Seeing him yell, she steps right over a bow to hug Yang Nh so tightly, hurriedly comforting him. "Oh no, did it scratch you at all? All because of this stupid cat. Come on, let me get you to the hospital." After saying that, they rush off. I endure the pain, crawling over to a bow, shakily putting my hand near his nose to check for breath, then on his chest. I know for sure he didn't make it. The roaring fury inside my chest is almost entirely exploding. That afternoon, right after the doctor finished my cast, I grabbed my crutches and found a quiet spot to bury a bow. I never really had a family. My mom passed away early, and my dad walked out on us. For years, the only ones I genuinely cared about were one person and my two cats. And now, a Thai and a bow both met a terrible end. Than Mat betrayed me. My phone buzzes twice in my pocket. It's a text from Than Mat saying they just tossed the cat, and since a bow was still meowing, he was probably fine, but why dang Than got scratched, so she had to take him to the hospital. She isn't coming home tonight. Since that contract is already signed, you better drop the lawsuit tomorrow. They are just two cats, she wrote, promising to love me twice as much later. I just stare at a Thai and a bow's little graves, completely ignoring her message. I don't drop the lawsuit that afternoon. Instead, I spend the entire night packing my bags, moving straight out of our newlywed home. Even that ring, the one proving we were in love, I take it off, leaving it on my desk. Right then, the airline sends an update. "Dear Tran Trach, your ticket for flight CA981 from Shou to New York is confirmed for 7:35 p.m. the day after tomorrow. Have a safe trip." Right after that, an unknown number texts me. "Mr. Tran, my investigation confirms why Dang Than was never actually burned in that fire. Because I already signed that ridiculous contract, why Dang Than easily wins the lawsuit." Right after the trial ends, Than Mat blocks my path. She asks why I didn't just drop the case like she told me. She claims she isn't playing favorites, insisting why Dang Than is just her childhood friend. She mentions two partnered companies downtown that are barely staying afloat, though their actual business model is still pretty solid. She promises to buy up the shares and give them to me as compensation. Before she even finishes, why Dang Than limps right over and cuts in, acting super friendly. He mentions that Than Mat is throwing a special shareholder meeting tomorrow just to back me up, making sure everyone knows exactly what my status is in this company. He suggests we handle my withdrawal at the exact same time. Now watch this. Than Mat actually chimes in and shamelessly agrees. She nods, saying why Dang Than's current status is a bit awkward, so my presence there would officially legitimize his position. I can't hold back a scoff. Legitimize him? Does he even deserve it? Everyone knows he's just the illegitimate son born to a homewrecker while my parents were still legally married. What kind of status could he possibly deserve? With that, I turn and walk away. Why Dang Than grits his teeth in pure anger, but he holds it together. He just pivots, putting on this pathetic, weak act for Than Mat. He whines that I'm clearly still mad, blaming himself for not resting and trying too hard to help her. He dramatically claims he should have just wasted away in that hospital bed. Than Mat rushes to comfort him, insisting that I just have a huge temper and absolutely no right to be angry anyway. She promises she already compensated me enough, telling him not to worry because she will help him out. But her so-called help is really just a straight-up threat against me. While I'm stuck packing up my office, all the shareholders are out in the main hall, raising their glasses for a toast. Than Mat and why Dang Than are dressed in these totally flashy outfits, walking hand in hand to toast the guests. Honestly, anyone walking in would think they were a happily married couple. I just let out a bitter laugh, looking away to pack my stuff faster. Somehow, Than Mat slips into the room without me noticing, her face completely dark. Snapping at me, she demands to know why I ignored all her messages yesterday. She asks why I refused to join the toast, and why I keep targeting Wai Dangthan. His burn injuries are pitiful enough, she claims, asking if I seriously want to make his life completely miserable. When I stay dead silent, she just shoves a phone into my hand. She casually mentions that she sent some people to visit my mother. A cold chill runs straight down my spine. On the screen, guys are digging up my mother's grave, leaving the coffin totally exposed. She warns me to just behave. She implies that if I mess with Wai Dangthan, that coffin is getting open. It's absolutely wild. I never expected her to get this vicious just for him. Our so-called love has long since turned into pure poison, carving a deep scar right into my heart. Swallowing every ounce of anger, I grit my teeth and tell CEO Tham she really shouldn't waste so much effort on me. It isn't worth disturbing my mother's peaceful rest. I shove the phone back, but she suddenly grabs my hand tight, aggressively asking where my engagement ring went. Before I can even answer, she waves it off, calling it a cheap ring anyway, and promising to buy me a new one later. But honestly, her little blackmail stunt completely stops me from officially ending things, right? There, with a cold smirk, I turn around, march into the hall, and stand right next to Wai Dangthan, right in front of every single guest. I finally say exactly what Wai Dangthan and Thamthan Mat have been dying to hear. I announce that Wai Dangthan is my younger brother, making his mother my father's second wife. I add that while this company was mine, I'm voluntarily transferring my shares over to him. What follows is just a massive wave of fake, flattering cheers. Once I finish, Thamthan Mat eagerly leads the whole room in applause. After that, Wai Dangthan officially gets the recognition of every single shareholder. Just as I'm about to slip away, he tightly grabs my arm and pulls me back, loudly thanking me for coming down to clear his mother's name. He then claims his mom actually has a few words she wants to pass on. He asks if I have a minute. Doing this deliberately in front of everyone, and invoking his mother's name makes it pretty impossible to refuse. The two of us walk over to the furthest office in the corner. The second that door clicks shut, he drops the innocent act entirely, showing his true, arrogant face. He smirks, saying this isn't over just because I once forced the old man to kick them out of show. He boasts that it isn't just these shares, everything that old man owned belongs to him now. Thamthan Mat is helping him take it all, and his ambitions are only getting bigger. I'm going to make your life worse than a stray dog on the street. And that cat, no matter how you struggle, it will absolutely perish in my hands. He grits his teeth and threatens me, completely unaware that my eyes are locked right onto the hidden micro camera over in the corner of the finance office. I just let out a deliberate smirk. A ruined guy with a severely burned face like you. How could you possibly take everything from me? Just as expected, Wai Nh doesn't even get provoked by my words. Instead, he just slowly peels the medical bandages off his face right in front of me. Playing this part is getting pretty tiring, but the show is far from over. After saying that, he quickly rewraps half the bandage, then suddenly pulls out a lighter and sets the huge stack of financial documents on the desk. Completely ablaze, I immediately grab hold of him. He uses the momentum to drop straight to the floor and starts screaming out, "Hurry! Someone is here!" Right as Thamthan Mat kicks the door open and rushes inside. He actually takes the flame and sets his remaining bandages on fire. Thamthan Mat sees the flame spreading across his face and frantically beats them out with her hands. The bodyguards also rush in and quickly extinguish the room. Wai Nh stays kneeling on the floor, completely terrified. "Terch, why would you set me on fire like this? You know my face is already severely burned. You could have just hit me to vent your anger, but look at this mess. Are you trying to completely destroy this entire company?" Thamthan Mat frantically checks his injuries, then slowly turns around and shoots me an incredibly furious glare. Terch, if you lack common decency, that is one thing. But why hurt people? I have never seen anyone twisted enough to actually set Wai Nh on fire. Is this trauma not severe enough for you already? She looks pretty close to actually hitting me, demanding I apologize to Wai Nh right this second. Thamthan Mat blindly trusts him. She refuses to hear my side at all. I interrupt, stating he burned himself. Hearing this, she fiercely glares and calls me a complete liar. The scars on Wai Nthan's face were literally caused by fire. With trauma like that, how could he possibly ignite himself? I knew she would say exactly that, so I just point toward the corner. This finance office has a hidden camera, so we can check the footage to see who is telling the truth. But watch what happens next. Things get completely insane. As I stand up to check it, Thamthan Mat orders the guards to escort Wai Nh out. Then she actually shoves me down, ignites the remaining papers, and violently slams the door, locking me inside. The flames spread rapidly, but the thick black smoke is even worse. It instantly chokes me, feeling exactly like hands tightly gripping my throat. I desperately pound on the heavy door, but only get a pretty cold response from them thin ent. She tells me this will teach me a lifelong lesson about what YNH suffered. Even though I knock until I am physically exhausted, she refuses to open it. Instead, she turns all her attention back to caring for YNH. Tears stream down my face, maybe from the thick smoke or just absolute, crushing disappointment. Only when my strength is pretty much completely drained does Thin Mount finally open the door. She declares this is my punishment, but I still owe YNH an apology. Then she walks away without looking back. Staring at her fading silhouette, I know everything has to end right here. At exactly 8 a.m., I board an early flight. I completely delete all contact information for Thin Mount, but not before sending her one final message. Right at that exact moment, I receive another text. Mr. Turn, I have successfully uploaded that entire surveillance video straight to the internet. It is already hitting the top of the search trends. As the plane slowly takes off, I vow to reclaim absolutely everything that rightfully belongs to me. Back on the ground, Thin Mount cannot reach me. Just as she prepares to dial again, the company manager comes running over in an absolute panic. Boss this is bad. Yesterday's incident is completely blowing up online. She grabs the phone and sees the surveillance footage, showing YNH aggressively threatening and constantly humiliating me. Just like I said, the footage shows him personally lighting the fire, burning both the office and his own bandages. His entire process of framing me is recorded, crystal clear from start to finish. The netizens immediately rally together to fiercely defend me. The comments go wild. This guy is way too cruel, malicious, and incredibly fake. Someone points out he is just a ruthless climber who will do literally anything to gain power. They mock his upbringing, but more importantly, they absolutely roast Thin Ent. They call her completely brainless for blindly trusting a manipulator like him. Thin Mount stares at the video and the brutal comments in sheer disbelief. Shaking, she asks out loud, "Is this just some fake video turned edited to frame us?" The manager doesn't even dare to sugarcoat it, simply keeping her head lowered as she reports the harsh truth to Boss "We also suspected Mr. Turn fabricated this for revenge, but we actually brought in professional video forensic experts to check it out. The experts concluded it is 100% authentic." Hearing this, Thin Mount practically collapses into her chair. A crushing mix of betrayal, deep disappointment, and heavy guilt completely washes over her. She suddenly remembers yesterday's incident. Her blind, foolish trust in YNH almost resulted in me completely suffocating inside that locked office. Pure fiction. His face was never even ruined. Every single part of his story was just a massive, twisted lie. The realization hits her hard. She suddenly screams at the manager, "Where is Turch? You need to go find him and bring him back right now." But the manager just keeps her head firmly down. "What are you waiting for? I am literally giving you a direct order here. Can you feel the panic setting in?" The manager hesitates, finally forcing out the truth. "Boss Turn boarded a flight to New York early this morning. We absolutely cannot locate him anymore. Why didn't any of you tell me about this?" Thin Mount screams in pure anger, violently sweeping absolutely everything off her desk onto the floor. The manager frantically explains that she was busy discussing a project with YNH this morning. They tried to report it, but he physically blocked them. Thin Mount desperately tries to contact me again, but it completely fails. Venting her rage, she smashes her phone into the ground, fiercely scowling as she prepares to summon YNH. Before she can even speak, the manager glances at her screen in pure panic. "Boss, things just got worse. That project director Y pitched this morning has major issues, and worse. He completely vanished into thin air." Thin Mount goes entirely pale. She barely has the strength to even stand, but still orders her manager to track down my location and find YNH. The second I step off the plane, a massive Lincoln limousine pulls up right next to me. A stunningly beautiful young woman, with a figure perfectly rivaling any top celebrity out there, steps out of the car. She immediately leaps up to hug me tight, pressing my face right against her pale chest. "Senior, you finally came all this way to find me." Standing right before me is Jiang Ki, a near from college. She comes from a top wealthy family in Chuchu City. Back then, I put in quite a lot of effort just to help her actually graduate. Later on, as a real way to thank me, She suggested we head overseas together to help develop her family's newly launched company. I was pretty hesitant at first, but then I met Thum Than Ant. Unlike Ki Hein, Than Mount found every single excuse to stay by my side, actively chasing me with intense passion. I felt Ki Hein was still quite young and had a much brighter future ahead, so I chose to stay domestic with Thum Than Mount, helping build up her career instead. Back when we first fell in love, we squeezed into a tiny rented apartment. We lacked pretty much everything material, but our bond was incredibly strong. A few years later, our company finally stood entirely on its own. I honestly thought I would be happy forever, until Yang Than showed up. I have no clue what kind of tricks he used, but he made Thum Than Mount lean completely to his side. Meanwhile, all our loving memories turned out to be far more fragile than sea foam. Now get this, when she ruthlessly locked me inside that burning room, I realized absolutely nothing was left to hold on to. I look at Jiang Ki Hein right in front of me. She is still as lively and innocent as I remember, totally untouched by time. I smile softly, gently brushing her cheek. I have nowhere else left to go now. So are you willing to take me in? She looks so overjoyed she almost jumps up. Of course, I am fully willing, but you are not allowed to run away this time. Saying that, she pulls me right into the car. Even seated, she grips my hand tight, terrified I might refuse again. I try to speak, but she is faster. I already know everything that happened back home. She frowns deeply. I never expected Thum Than Mount and that arrogant bastard to be so incredibly vile. I will help you out. Even while living overseas, she had always kept a really close eye on my news. Did that absolute bastard completely rip her heart out? When the company hit its absolute lowest point, were you not the one who single-handedly fixed everything? What is infinitely more infuriating is that she actually dug up your aunt's grave. She grits her teeth, somehow angrier than I was. The car quickly reaches her villa. After showing me around the carefully prepared room, she drags me straight down to the main hall. Inside stands a whole group of very sharply dressed people. Turch, I actually found you the absolute best legal team in New York, plus elite bodyguards. We have already prepared all the necessary documents and hard evidence too. Looking at everything she went out of her way to prepare, I step forward and hug Jiang Ki Hein. Thank you so much. Now, finally know what someone truly loving me looks like. I think we just need to wait for one person who should be arriving soon. Sure enough, an argument erupts outside the manor. Then, a very stern-looking butler steps right in. He respectfully bows to Ki Hein. Miss Jiang. There is a certain woman outside demanding to see this Mr. Turn. I instantly know exactly who he means. Gripping Ki Hein's hand, I ask her to come out and look with me. She nods quietly. Why on earth are you people hiding my fiancé in here? Hurry up and let him out right now. Watch her reaction here. The moment we step out, I spot Thum Than Mount arguing with security. Seeing me walk out holding Ki Hein's hand, she freezes completely in her tracks. Shouldn't you be getting cozy with Yang Than right now? Did you come all the way to New York to burn me again? She finally snaps out of it, rushing to explain herself. Turch, please come back to me. I was wrong. I was so incredibly wrong. I finally see exactly what kind of person Yang Than is. Please come back. I promise I will treat you well. I coldly shoot back one single word. Liar. Not happening. Is it just because you found this new girl? I am your actual fiancé. She anxiously tries to step forward to argue, but gets instantly blocked by the security guards. Do not speak nonsense. We stopped having any kind of intimate relationship a long time ago. I already gave the engagement ring right back to you. Looking at you right now, your actual fiancé must definitely be Yang Than. I point straight at her, purposely bringing up that guy's name. Yang Than is nothing but a scammer. Turch, please, just come back to me. I know I was completely wrong. Her tears spill out uncontrollably. You just want me back so I can keep taking care of you, right? Like when you locked the door and almost turned me to ash. Why didn't you admit fault then? When you helped Yang Than steal my entire inheritance? Why didn't you say you were wrong when you and Yang Than were getting so intimate? Why didn't you think of me then? Not only am I never returning, but I will absolutely take back everything that belongs to me. I knew early on that Yang Than was secretly funneling assets, but from start to finish, the person covering for him was always you. You can clean up your own messes from now on. I refuse to give Thum Than Mount any chance to defend herself, making my firm resolve completely crystal clear. Hearing that, she just collapses entirely onto the dirt. Seeing her look absolutely miserable and broken, Ki Hein confidently steps right forward. Miss Thum, you should really just go home. You completely failed to cherish how wonderfully Mr. Turn treated you back then. You even got involved with that absolute bastard. So do you actually really love him? If Mr. Turn hadn't mentioned it, you probably forgot that when your company completely lacked funds, he was the one running everywhere to find investors. When your project failed, he stepped up to carry the load. Every time you got sick, wasn't he the one taking care of you? I cut Ki Hein off. No need to waste words on someone so completely ungrateful. Thin Mount slumps right there on the floor, crying silently after hearing Ki Hein's words. But honestly, even if she remembers everything now, what's done is done. The past is already gone, and talking about it won't fix anything. I just grab Ki Hein and pull her back inside, completely ignoring her. Later, the butler says Thin Mount knelt outside for 3 whole days, screaming to see me. You feel bad for her? I don't. I feel absolutely nothing. Because whatever physical pain she feels kneeling out there simply doesn't even begin to compare to the absolute nightmare she put me through back then. I'm definitely not going to forget the past just because of this. Ashes scatter in the wind. You cannot just gather them up for a second and expect things to go back to normal. Soon after, the butler reports she is finally gone from the gates. She probably headed back home, simply because they just tracked down Yang Then's location over there. As for Ki Hein and me, we are pretty much packed up, hopping on a plane to head right back home. It is finally time to take back everything that rightfully belongs to me. Right off the plane, Ki Hein takes me straight to a temporary office she already set up. A whole group of people is waiting there. These are all top-tier experts. Ki Hein specifically handpicked just to help me out today. We have lawyers, expert financial advisors, and a fully equipped media team. I take the main seat, glance over at Ki Hein, take a deep breath, and start making my moves. First, we need to make absolutely sure all the evidence of Yang Thenh illegally transferring those assets is completely gathered up, and then we alert the authorities. I turn to the lawyer, and she gives a firm nod, confirming that every last document is perfectly prepared. Next, I tell the financial advisor we need a full audit of the company's entire financial situation. We have to ensure we do not miss a single trace of anything Yang Thenh got his dirty hands on. I grab my phone and dial. Hello there, Yang Thenh, I am back. Are you ready for me? Stop running, because you cannot escape this. On the other end of the line, his voice sounds clearly panicked. Now, with Ki Hein's heavy support backing me, Yang Thenh gets dragged straight into court. He already transferred most of Thin Mount's company assets and was getting completely ready to run away. But get this insane twist. Since I caught on just in time, he couldn't leave the country, forced to hide in some dark corner. Yet right before we track him down, Thin Mount completely beats us to it. She locked him inside a completely dark room, making him suffer endlessly for 3 whole days and nights, permanently ruining him physically before tossing him straight out into a random wasteland, not caring at all if he even survives. Just as expected, thanks to having all the solid evidence ready, I successfully win back the company's shares that belonged to me, along with the massive inheritance that was always rightfully mine. Yang Thenh gets locked straight in prison for his crimes. Honestly, if he ever gets out, his miserable life will not be any better than a stray dog's. Knowing I return home, Thin Mount actually still comes begging me to get back together with her. I just smile warmly. Do not forget, you and I still have some serious unfinished business. That massive financial fraud chain involved so many different people. But since absolutely everything was done under Thin Mount's name, there is no way she escapes the harsh punishment. After going to court, of course, I completely win the case. I completely refuse to forgive her just because of her pathetic fake disguise, and at the same time, I also arrange for the media to fully expose all of their terrible crimes. Thin Mount's company instantly gets dropped by countless angry business partners, and all the shareholders pull their capital out at once. In just one night, the company is pushed right to the edge of total bankruptcy. Facing an incredibly massive debt, she has to sell the company and tons of other assets. But it still isn't nearly enough to cover it all. She gets beaten up by creditors every day, even getting brutally assaulted a few times. But no matter what happens, none of that has anything to do with me anymore. I can finally let go of the heavy burdens from the past, starting a brand new life. And for all of this, I have to thank Jiang Ki Hein, the one who reached out when I was most desperate, pulling me right out of the dark abyss. I will spend the rest of my life loving her. Right. At the airport, I pull out a diamond ring and drop down on one knee. Ki Hein, do you still want to be with me? I know it is a bit late, but before I can even finish my sentence, she kisses my lips, giving her answer, I do. And this time, I will not let you run away again. After saying that, We hold each other incredibly tightly, finally heading back to New York together to throw the most magnificent wedding ever, officially starting our beautiful new life together.